Hey, and welcome everyone. I'm Tara Gentili, and this is our Mastering CrowdCast Masterclass. It's a co-social event, but we've made it open to the public. So hi, public. If you're watching us on Facebook, we're actually over on CrowdCast itself. So you can click the link in the page there, or in the little post there, join us over on CrowdCast because we're going to be chatting away over here, answering questions, all that kind of good stuff. Or feel free to watch on Facebook as well. And if you're here on CrowdCast already, welcome. Let me know in the chat that you can see me and hear me okay. And as I mentioned, since this is public, we'd love for you to share this event with your friends and network. So I believe right above the chat box, which was actually over there, right above the chat box, there's a little button that says invite. If you click on that invite button, you can share this event on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, share it on all three, and let people know that you're learning how to make the most out of CrowdCast to grow your business with live video. So the reason we're doing this event is, one, because you asked for it, and two, because CrowdCast really has become one of my absolute most favorite apps, tools, platform ever for growing a small business. So Sai, if you're here, thank you for developing this tool because it really has changed the way we do business. We've been doing live video and live events really for years and years, but CrowdCast has made it easy to put on truly interactive events, marketing forward events, but also great private small events and sometimes not so small events that we can use to give our customers an incredible as well. So we've used it in all sorts of different ways over the last year and a half or so that we've been CrowdCast users. And I'm going to share all of those with you. I've taken an inventory of all of the questions that I received beforehand. I've looked at the questions that came in the Ask a Question button, and I've put together an outline of all the things that I'm going to go over. So most likely, if you've got a question for me, I've got it in my outline. But that said, I would love for you, I'd love for you to click that Ask a Question tab below the video area. So below me, or maybe this way, or maybe this way, click where it says Ask a Question, and you can pop any question that you have at any time into that little box. You also have the ability to upvote on questions. So if you're sitting there and you're wondering, well, I wonder if she's going to get to this, or I wonder if someone's already asked this question, you can also click that Ask a Question button and read the questions that have come in beforehand and vote up the ones that you want to make sure I get to. Now, like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to every single question today. I've got them all lined up in an outline. Plus, I don't have anything else to do this afternoon except get a massage. So I'm here to answer your questions for as long as it's going to take. I've already mentioned the chat really quickly, which you've probably already found. It's on the right side of the desktop screen. It's below, I believe, on the mobile app. And we've got Shannon, who is our community advocate of Co-Commercial, in the chat with you now. She's listening in to learn some of my tips and tricks too that she isn't privy to yet, but she's also mostly here to help you out with anything that you might need throughout the course of this event. So Shannon, it says Shannon at Co-Commercial. She's your gal for any questions that you have as you go. Don't put questions to me in the chat because I won't be able to see them. I'm going to be toggling a bunch of different windows. And there's a good chance that I won't be even looking at the screen half the time that we're live here. So ask Shannon if you need something. If you want me to see it, put it in that Ask a Question tab, and that'll help me out immensely. All right. I think that's all the housekeeping I have. So let's go ahead and get to actually the topic of the day, which is talking about CrowdCast. All right. So first of all, when are you going to use CrowdCast? Why would you use CrowdCast? And we've got 4 main use cases that we've used CrowdCast for over the last year and a half. I'm going to go through all 4 of them. If you've got a different use case that you're either considering or that you just want to kind of volunteer, maybe you've already used it this way, We'd love to hear about that too. So go ahead and put that in the chat if you would like to, or if it's more of a question, use the Ask a Question tab for that. The 4 use cases that we have used over the last year and a half are webinars or free workshops. That's one. Online courses or programs. Q&As and live interviews, I'm going to put that in the same kind of category, and conferences or summits. So those are the 4 main things. Those are 4 kind of really key activities for a lot of digital service-based businesses, digital products-based businesses, education or training-based businesses, any businesses that are using live video, kind of interactive experiences to market themselves or to deliver their product. You probably do, if not all 4 of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them. And that's one of the reasons that we've loved CrowdCast so much, is because really it's pretty darn versatile, even though, you know, it's also fairly simple, at least in terms of a user interface. So let's go a little bit more in depth into each one. First of all, for webinars and free workshops, there are absolutely ways that you can use CrowdCast to build your list. And that was one of the questions that came in ahead of time. I'm going to get into the specifics of how I do that a little bit later on. But just so you know, yes, absolutely. You can integrate CrowdCast with your email service provider. I'm going to show you how I do that. And you can utilize CrowdCast as your webinar platform. It has lots of great marketing features in it. It doesn't necessarily have all the bells and whistles that like a Webinar Ninja or trying to think of other. It's been so long now since I platforms, but other really digital marketing savvy webinar platforms. It doesn't have all of the same bells and whistles, but it has most of them, and it probably has all the ones that you've used in the past. I know it has for me. Anything I think of off the top of my head that CrowdCast is missing has always been one of those bells and whistles that I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should give that a try next time. Then still never do, because that's one more detail than I want to handle in an event, right? So that's that piece. You absolutely can use it for marketing. You absolutely can use it for list building. And I'm going to talk more about both of those things later on. You can also use it for online courses and programs. We've done this in the form of kind of longer term programs. We've done this in terms of kind of live all day events or live multi-day events. We used to offer a 2-day virtual retreat where we'd gather 25 people together on CrowdCast and work with them over the course of 2 8-hour days. It was phenomenal for that. One of the reasons it's so good for that is because it automatically, we'll get into that in just a bit too, automatically creates a recording and houses that recording for you so that you, as you are live, you are creating your online program curriculum, and then other people can come back later and access that on their own time as well, which is really awesome. And I'll speak to some more of the features that makes CrowdCast great for this later on. There's also, you can also do it with Q&As. So like we host a bi-monthly Q&A with me for our Leader Circle members at Co-Commercial. And so I just kind of get on just like this, it's me and the camera, and people submit questions via that Ask a Question button. One of the things that we love most about that Ask a Question option is that as I'm answering questions, I can actually timestamp the video. So I can, and I'll show you again, I'm going to keep saying that. I'll show you how this works in a little bit. I can actually click on each question to let the system know when I'm answering that question, so that if that person wants to come back and just review their question, maybe they only have 5 minutes, they can click that question and see immediately in the video where I answered that question. I think that's one of the coolest little features of this platform. It makes it really awesome for Q&A style calls, maybe do coaching calls, hot seat calls. It's really great for that as well. We've used it for live interviews that we've turned into podcast episodes. We've used interviews that we put out on Facebook Live. We're going to be doing a series of them again next month. And so live interviews are really great for that too. One of the top questions that I got asked as I was preparing for this is, can you have more than one person on the screen? Yes, absolutely. You can bring more than one person on the screen on the fly. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. And so that can be really great for live interviews. And then finally, conferences and summits. One of the things that we do at CoCommercial is we offer a quarterly virtual conference. Organize a full day material with 5 or 6 different speakers, excluding myself, in addition to myself. And we'll set up a multi-session event throughout the day where, again, we are creating recordings on the fly. We're generating these live interviews, these live sessions, and people can kind of come and go and join us and then come back and watch the recordings for the things that they've missed. Now, well, actually, I'm seeing a question in the chat about recording right now from Nina. So let me tell you about another one of the wonderful features of Crowdcast. I don't have to send you the recording. You know why? Because if you're here, you already have access to it. The way Crowdcast works is that as soon as I hit that go live button, it's recording. And when we are done and I hit end broadcast, it takes about, I don't know, 2 minutes. I think they say it can take up to 10. I've never had it take up to 10. 60 seconds, I think, is about normal. But the recording just popped up and it just lives here forever, which has streamlined our workflow so much because we used to have to send out recordings. We used to have to upload events to other hosts. But with Crowdcast, it's there. In the same URL. So all you have to do is just either come back to the link that brought you here, refresh your browser an hour from now, or maybe 75 minutes from now, and that recording is going to be here waiting for you. So if you're one of those people who, like me, really hates the process of uploading recordings, sending out recordings, always being asked if there's going to be a recording, with Crowdcast, I cannot guarantee that your people aren't still going to ask you if there's going to be a recording. But guess what? There's always a recording. It's always stupid easy to access, which we absolutely love. Jessica says this part is a lifesaver for me. It has been a lifesaver for me as well. You can ask Rosie and Shannon. All right. One of the other questions that I received is, when is it best to use Crowdcast and when is it best to use Zoom? We actually utilize both platforms inside CoCommercial and as a team as well. We use Crowdcast typically for large events. So if I'm going to be having more than, say, 10 to 15 attendees, we're going to do it on Crowdcast. It takes a lot of the guesswork out for attendees that way. If it's just going to be me, or if it's just going to be me and one other person speaking, we're going to use Crowdcast because we love Crowdcast the best. And with Zoom, I have to upload recordings and send them out. And However, if we're going to have an interactive session where I might have 10 or 15 people or even 5 people on a call and we all want to be talking and conversing at the same time, then I'm going to use Zoom. Reasons that I don't use Zoom for everything: people are really uncomfortable on camera generally by default. So that can be a deal breaker for a lot of folks, or it can just make them really uncomfortable. So it's good if you're doing things on Zoom to have, I think, a lot of buy-in from the people who are inviting into that Zoom meeting. Zoom also isn't great marketing-wise. You have to set up a whole lot of extra things to really utilize Zoom for marketing. I'm not as familiar with their webinar product, so I might be a little behind on that. But I think Crowdcast is still going to win over on that anyhow for webinars. Yeah, and I love Zoom for interactive things. Oh, the other reason we use Zoom is we've got a number of different features, offers where we're doing breakout rooms, and Zoom offers breakout rooms, whereas Crowdcast that's just not what they're about. It's not the right kind of platform for that. So if you're wanting to break people out into small groups in the middle of a larger event, Zoom going to be fantastic for that. Crowdcast, not so much, or not at all. So don't use it for that. But otherwise, for live public events, big events, anything where me or another speaker is going to be the main event, I'm going to use Crowdcast for that. Crowdcast has become my default, absolutely. And then sometimes we're like, I don't know, that would be better on Zoom. All right, so let's talk about platform basics. Lots of questions about just how we manage, how we produce the events that we produce. And I want to share that with you. So I'm going to do some crazy incepting, which is what we like to say when there's weird things happening in the screen share. Tested this and I'm 99% sure it's going to work. But if things get weird, just know that there's the possibility of that. All right. So what I'm going to do is actually show you inside a Crowdcast event, inside of a Crowdcast event. So this could be very fun and exciting. So I'm going to actually bring the screen share, my screen up big for you. This is another one of the features of Crowdcast that I love, which is that I can make myself small and I can make the screen nice and big, or I can do a split screen. And I'll show you how to do that when we actually get into the event itself. So this is the back end of our Crowdcast account. And it's just a listing of all of the events that we have coming up. You can see that they are designated as upcoming with that little red tag. Most of these are also designated as unlisted because we do a lot of unlisted Crowdcast events at Co-Commercial because these are members only events. And typically an event like this would be a members only event as well. But hey, we knew a lot of people had Crowdcast questions, and it seemed like a great time to invite the public in. So again, welcome public. So a lot of these events are unlisted. You can choose to have public events or unlisted events with Crowdcast. And one of the cool things about Crowdcast too is that people can actually follow you on that platform. I should pull that up too. Give me 1 second and I will show you what that looks like. So Co-Commercial Crowdcast account. It is Co-Commercial branded. It sort of looks similar to really any social media profile that you're going to have wherever you are online. We got a little banner image up here. We've got our profile icon. It says a little bit more about what we are and what we do. We've got our web address there. And then we've got our upcoming events. So you can see we've got 4 upcoming public events. Now, all of those events are not there. You can also see that we've got followers here. So that means those are all the people who are getting notified every time we go live. Pretty cool, right? So that means that from, the time that I went live at 2:30, where we had about 80 people signed up for this event, now we've got 116 people signed up. And part of that is due to the notifications that people receive just by virtue of following us. Then we've got all our past events here as well. So again, super easy to get to those recordings. And because I have Zaps, and I'm going to get to that in a bit as well, because I have Zaps set up for each of these events, I'm getting those email addresses too. So as people look at our past events and sign up for those past events, I'm getting those email addresses, which is really cool. We'll get more into that. So this is the Crowdcast profile page. All right, let's go back to the inside of it now. And you can see we've just got tons and tons of events here. I even named an event Inception. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to create a new event and incept myself. Okay, cool. So this is what it looks like when you create a new event. This is going to be an incredibly familiar type of screen to all of you. If you've ever done anything on the internet, this looks very normal, right? Nothing super complicated here. Another really great reason to love Crowdcast. So I'm going to title my event, and then I'm going to schedule it. So I'm going to click edit. And now you've got the option of a single event type or a series event type. Single is what the vast majority of you are going to do the vast majority of the time. But let's say you're putting together a multi-part event, and there's 2 main use cases that I've kind of come up with for that. One is the virtual conference type of event, or the extended day-long event that I talked about earlier. With Crowdcast, you are limited to a 2-hour broadcast window. And so if I'm going to do an 8-hour event, I want that broken up into shorter sessions. And we find that 90 minutes is about as long as anyone can take anyhow, right? 2 hours is a long time to be sitting in front of your computer watching live video. So I'm going to break up any long day we have into 1 hour or 90-minute or even shorter sometimes segments. And I can do that with a series type event. Now, it doesn't all have to be in one day. So if you are running an online course or you want to have this kind of live teaching environment, you can also break it up week by week by week, right? So maybe your calls are Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. You can have an 8-part course or a 12-part course or an 83-part course that's Wednesdays at 7 o'clock or anytime. Also, it's not just recurring events. So then I'm going to choose my time. I'm going to choose, as I said, what the sessions are. You can name those sessions. You can put descriptions with those sessions. It's really cool. All right. Then you're going to put your description in. This does not include your cover photo. We'll get there in just a second. This is just going to be your description. This is what's going to show up on your registration page. Now, a lot of people ask me, do you use the default or the default registration page, or do you use your own registration page? Now, predominantly in the past, when I did use those focused webinar platforms, I'd always make my own registration pages because the default pages were ugly. Well, CrowdCast has done an amazing job making their registration pages really nice looking. But beyond that, they really well also. So we're looking anywhere between generally a 40% and a 60% conversion rate on those registration pages. Why would I mess with that? Why would I put an extra step in the process when every single time I generate an event, we're hitting our conversion goals? So put a description in there that's going to look good on that registration page. And I'm going to tell you that probably means shorter is better. Probably 300 words max is what you're looking at. And maybe 150 to 200 words is more of a sweet spot. The more you have to scroll in that description, the less likely someone is going to be to click that button, because the Save Your Seat button does stay at the top. And I can show you that. Well, you've seen the registration button you got here, right? Or the registration page you've gotten here. So that's what I'm going to do with the description. You do have all of the usual formatting tools. You can put in headings. You can align your text center, left, right, whatever. You can put in images as well. Just keep in mind you're working with a limited amount of screen space to keep that conversion rate up. Another thing that you can do here is enable a short description. I would highly recommend you do this for any public events that you're doing. This doesn't matter so much with private events because you're not sharing them. But with a public event where you're going to put it on Facebook, you're going to put it on Twitter, you're going to put it on LinkedIn, this short description is what's going to pop up in that, how they expand the link and you've got the headline and then you've got the description underneath it. That's what's going to show up there. If you don't, there's sort of a generic message about joining so-and-so on CrowdCast. It's fine, but it's not going to help your conversion rate or your click-through rate at all. So a short description there is dramatically going to increase your conversions. This is where you're going to select public or unlisted. Again, public is going to show up in your profile, and the people that follow you are going to get some sort of notification about that. If you put it as unlisted, no one gets notified. No one can see the link except the people that you send the link to. So right there. You can also make a password protected if security is that important to you. I don't think we've ever done this. I don't think we've ever felt the need. But if that is really important to you, you want to make sure that this thing is as secure as Fort Knox. You can put a password behind it. And then you can also make it a paid event if you'd like. So you can utilize Stripe to actually do variable pricing. So you can have people pay what they want to pay. You can put a fixed price on things. You can add coupons. It's pretty cool. We've done this once. It was super successful. We did it as sort of a fundraiser, pay what you want kind of thing. It was really, really awesome. We were able to raise a lot of money for the Special Olympics for that. So that's that. All right. I'm going to hit done here. Now, the next thing you can do is upload a cover photo. You can also upload a video trailer. I've tried the video trailer and I did not love it. I think it was more work than was necessary. And I think probably didn't realize that there was a video there or watch it. So I've just gone with a cover photo from here on out. You can click yes, drag and drop your cover photo there. In terms of what you want your cover photo to be, you want it to look good on Facebook. Or wherever you're sharing the link, but because Facebook is such a default place that people share things, that's what most of the other social media platforms are defaulting to as well. So something that looks good on Facebook is going to look good on any other platform that you're sharing on it. That means that cover photo is going to be best if it's 1200 pixels by 630 pixels. 1200 by 630. It's the same size as any link image that you share or any ad image that you're putting up with a link. 1200 by 630. Okay, that's the size that I always use. It just makes it makes it so that when I put up a new event, when I link to an event on Facebook, I know exactly what it's going to look like. It also means that I'm really careful about how much text I use, right? So you might think, oh, this cover photo, I can jam all sorts of text about the event into it. Don't do that if you want people to either share it on Facebook or if you want the Facebook algorithm to help you out at all. Because jamming text into your image is going to mean Facebook is not going to display it. And thank you, Sharon, for popping that pixel, the pixel ratio in there for me. I appreciate that. Some other things that you can do here. Registration. You can actually customize what people see when they register in terms of adding fields. So you're automatically going to get their name and their email address, but you might also want to ask them a question. So like when we invited you into this event, I had customized this so that it said optional. Do you have a question about Crowdcast that I can answer for you? I don't think that was the exact question, but it was something like that. This is where I did that. And so then I was able to export and download a list of all of the attendees. I was able to see the questions that came in so that I could prepare the talk that answered the questions that you actually had about the platform. You can also do multi-streams. So these multi-streams are for broadcasting simultaneously to Facebook, to YouTube, Periscope, wherever. And so we do a lot of simulcast broadcasting to Facebook when we're doing marketing events. In fact, we are as well today. So this is going out not only for the folks that are here on CrowdCast, hi folks, but also to the Facebook, to my Facebook page. Hi, Facebook people. And this is pretty simple to set up. If you're familiar with multi-streaming, it's the same on basically every single platform. If not, you can get more info, and the lovely folks at CrowdCast will actually walk you through this. So I'm not going to do that today, just because that's a little bit more advanced, but it is very easy to set up. Speaking of advanced, there are a few more things that I recommend. You can actually customize the URL for your Crowdcast event, which is really cool. You can limit the amount of seats. So this is especially great if you are selling something. You can say, I'm hosting a workshop for 30 people, only 30 people. It costs $30. And then you can actually limit the seats right here. You can accept contributions. So similar to having a paid event, but instead it's actually letting people pay you, I believe, as the event is actually happening. It's not something that I've used before, but it might work. It might be appropriate for your business. You can customize the registration button. You can toggle on and off whether people get a registration or a reminder email. You can hide attendees if that's important to you. And I don't know why I'm having a problem. I'm talking really fast. I'm sorry. And I'm losing my breath, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to try and slow down, but I have a lot that I want to get in. Last thing on this screen is your Facebook. This is awesome. Okay. This is so awesome. If you are using CrowdCast for marketing, or even if you're using it for like internal marketing for upsells and things, you're going to put your Pixel ID in here in this box. So that's just the number that's on your account, not your account number, but your Pixel ID number. Again, there's excellent documentation at CrowdCast to walk you through this if you don't know how to find that or you're not familiar with that. It's worth familiarizing yourself with it, even if you're not yet running Facebook ads. Pop that number into that box, and then you have some options here. There are 3 actions that you can record as people interact with your event. The first one is when the registration page loads. Now, I don't like the CrowdCast defaults here. I think the default should be page view when the registration page loads. So I always change it to page view. And then complete registration is the event that we use for co-commercial registrations. So again, we don't use this, we use lead. So I always change it to page view and then lead. Attended live, sure, that makes sense. But page view and then lead is what we use to record the action of popping onto the page. So someone just seeing the registration page. And then when they actually sign up and get into this internal screen, that's when I have them turn into a lead, because that's when I get their email address, right? And so for a lot of our kind of businesses, that's what qualifies as a lead. Now, maybe for your business, a lead makes sense in terms of a page view. Maybe for your kind of business, a lead, that's not when someone turns into a lead. Maybe you want to use view content and track things that way. But what this means is that you can create custom audiences from CrowdCast events. Okay, so that means that if you're selling an online course, and let's say you do a big webinar, you've got 500 people on your webinar, and then you want to remarket your pitch, your product, your online program, your service to those 500 people, you can create a Facebook audience just from people who registered from that event. Awesome, right? So awesome. Sure, there's other ways to do it, but this is automatic. It's automagic, and it's just really, really great. Okay, and then this attended live, I'm going to show you what I do with that in a little bit as well. All right, so I'm going to click save on here and just create this event, and hopefully nothing weird happens. Okay, so now I've got a public event. If I would have scheduled this out, I'd have a clock, a countdown here where it says starting in a moment. This is what I can then, get people. This is what they would see when they register as well, minus some of the things that are host only, of course. So let's take a look at what it actually looks like to go live. This is when things could get hairy. So cross your fingers. Prepare to go live. You are already a CrowdCast user. You will find out that with me today, they just rolled out something new. I watched the video. I don't completely understand it yet. I've certainly not tried it yet, so I cannot help you with this brand new feature, but it looks freaking awesome. Okay, so ignore the RTMP studio piece for now and watch the lovely video that Sai made. Instead, you're gonna 99% of the time, unless you're a power user, you're gonna use this in browser button. So you're gonna click that in browser button. This is still looking right? Okay, cool. Then it's going to ask you, do you want to enable your camera and mic? We're going to hit yes, let's go. Okay, now you see me twice, right? Has anything weird happened? Am I echoing? Are you all good? Woohoo! Okay, this is incredible. As you can see, I am in the green room, which means I can fix my hair, I can fix my lighting, which are all the things that I do when I'm getting ready for a CrowdCast event. Okay, yeah, my video is going to be choppy in the green room because there is, what is the right word? There's a, it's on the tip of my tongue. Shoot, what is the right word? It's driving me crazy. Anyhow, it's not, screen sharing isn't fluid the way the HD video is when you're actually watching me in the room. It's not buffering, it's something else. I'll get it eventually. It'll be like 30 minutes after we wrap up here. So the other thing that you can do here is get your screen sharing set up. And a lot of people had questions about screen sharing. I'm going to get into this particulars about that in just a second. But as you can see, I I'm hovering over face with my mouse, and that's going to pull up my settings here for my video. I can toggle my mic on and off. I can toggle my video on and off. I can toggle HD on and off. So some of you asked, what happens if you kind of have low bandwidth, but you want to give this a try anyhow? First off, if you always have low bandwidth, this just might not be the best platform for you. If you are a perennially low bandwidth situation, it probably just isn't going to be awesome for you. You're going to be dealing with tech issues. It's a pretty bandwidth intensive application, right? But let's say you're on the road and you're in the middle of a course and you have a call from your hotel room. These are things I have done, right? I might toggle that HD off and broadcast in standard definition so that I have a more fluid interaction with my audience. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Then I've got my screen share option, and then I've got my change camera and mic option as well. So let's take a look at screen share. This is where things are going to get really weird. Can you see this? I bet you can't see. No, this you can't see. All right, this is good to know. So when you click that screen share button, so I'm not actually going to take you through this. When you click that screen share button, you have two options. You can do your entire screen, or you can do application window. Always do application window. So you're going to have to click on that, and it's going to pull up all the windows that you have open on your screen. So that might be Keynote, it might be Preview, it might be Word, it could be Evernote, whatever you're wanting to screen share from. It could be a second Chrome browser, which is what I'm doing right now. I've my main browser window open with the event broadcasting from there. And then I've got a second browser window that I use specifically for screen sharing. I do not do it from the same browser window. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's not going to break anything, but it's going to drive you insane. So set up a second Chrome browser, have all your, if you've got multiple websites, multiple documents, screen share, whatever that you want to have, that you want to toggle between, have it all set up in that extra browser window. So like for me, I've got CrowdCast set up, I've got Zapier set up, got a different CrowdCast window set up, got another CrowdCast window set up, and I can just toggle through those things so that it's as smooth as possible on your end, and you don't have to wait for me to toggle between different, to find my browser window again and all of those kinds of things. Okay. Oh, I see Mary says, can you post materials such as handouts? Yes, that was one thing that no one else asked about, Mary, and is not on my outline. So if you can pop that into the Ask a Question button, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. Well, I'll show you how to do it now since we're here. Okay, at the bottom below the video area, when you are a host, you will see this button that says Call to Action. If you click that, you can put in any link at all. So if I'm doing a marketing event, I'm going to put a link in there to my sales page, right? Or to my registration page. But if I'm teaching a course, I'm going to put my worksheet link in there, right? Or sometimes even when I'm doing a webinar, I'll put a worksheet link in there. Box in PDF downloads in there. What else have I'm trying to think if I've done anything more exciting than that. But I'll put my handout link right in there, that's the button label. I'll put my URL right in there. I will label it, free worksheet, planning worksheet, course outline, whatever it might be. I'll label the button that. It's going to pop up a little green button under your video area. And then you can just do what I do, click the box to download the worksheet. It works great. That is also an action then that Crowdcast is recording. So you can actually export your attendees and see who attended live, who attended a replay, and who clicked that CTA button, which again can help for marketing purposes. Okay. You can also do things like polls. There's that Ask a Question button. You can pull up analytics. This is all really boring because there's no one registered for this, but there's a whole bunch of other options down here. All right, let me check my outline and make sure before I get out of this screen, because I'm still afraid that it's going to accept me at some point. All right, actually, I am going to pull up a screen share so I can show you how easy it is to toggle between things. So you can't see how I did this, but now you can see that I am screen sharing on the green room window as well. Now, bring up screen share, the default is going to be to bring up my screen nice and large, and most of the time that makes sense. If I want to go half and half, I can click this unfocused screen button. And now I'm going to go half and half. I use this for our virtual conferences where really my slides are just times, speaker titles. Maybe there's just a question and it's really big and you can see it in this half and half screen. If I'm doing any kind of screen sharing, if I'm sharing slides that have a little bit more information on them, then I'm going to make it full screen and go into my little box. So that's pretty cool. I can also focus the screen on me and make the slide share really small. So pretty much anything you can do. Now, this is going to show up as another co-commercial. It kind of looks like a separate co-commercial user account. And I know Marie had asked about that in the questions. This is all just from our account. So it's not a separate thing. We don't have separate accounts set up. We do have Shannon and Kristen have accounts where we doctored their account names. So you can see is Shannon at co-commercial, Kristen's is Kristen at co-commercial. And then we put little yellow circles around their profile pictures because our logo is a yellow circle, or our small logo is a yellow circle. And so that just helps them stand out a little bit more in the chat as a helper instead of just another person in the chat. So that's a little trick. If you do have team members helping you out, you might want to give that a try too. Try branding their profiles a little bit so that you can have a more cohesive experience in the chat. Okay. Yes, a screen share inside a screen share. This is very fun. I'm enjoying myself immensely. I hope you are too. All right, I'm going to close out of this now, and I'm going to continue on. Okay, now I'm going to make myself big for a second. Okay, this is very exciting. Some other questions that people asked. Can you have more than one person on a crowdcast? Yes, you can have up to 4 screens on live. Okay, so that's you, and that's 3 other screens. The reason I say screens is because it's any combination of people and screen shares. So like during our Inspector Gadgets virtual conference earlier this month, it was often 2 people and 2 screen shares. So it was me and a screen share, my screen share, slides for that event. Then I had my presenter and their screen share. So that was our 4 screens. Still easy peasy to toggle in between those things. I can toggle in between things and the guests can toggle between their screen share and themselves. So that's really, really easy. I can also invite audience members on the fly. I don't think there's no good way for me to demonstrate this, but I can hover over any of your names in the chat or the box that says people. I can hover over that. I can click that open and look at the people there and hover over them. And there's a little button there that says invite on screen, or in the chat, there's a little plus sign that I can click on. And that just invites that person to come on the screen with me. So if you do live hot seats, if you do live coaching calls, if you do any kind of, flash consulting, that kind of thing, that's really fun to bring people on screen with you. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing there. So so you can have 3 people a screen share. You can have 4 people. You can have 1 person, 3 screen. I guess you couldn't do 1 person and 3 screen shares. That would not work. But you get the idea. That's the combination. You can have up to screens. Toggling between presenter views, I covered that. How do I record a session? I covered that. It's automatic. It's wonderful. I see Sai's here. Sai, thank you for making recordings automatic and replays on the same URL. It is brilliant. I answered the terrible bandwidth question. Okay, now for the biggest question I got, which is how do you get your slides on the screen? Okay, let me show you exactly how I do this. So I am going to close the screen share, open a new screen share, and I'm going to open Keynote. Now, I do not screen share Keynote. A couple of you said, how do you screen share from Keynote? It seems to be a disaster. Yes, it is. Don't do that. Yes, you're going to, in my suggestion, you're going to lose some like pretty transitions and animations. You don't want that crap in your slideshow anyhow, okay? You want static slides. Please trust me on this. So here's my Keynote. And Keynote is the Mac app that we use for creating presentations, creating slides. The instructions are exactly the same or very similar for PowerPoint or for Google Slides as well. So I'm going to go into Keynote and I'm going to click File and then Export. Can you see that? No, you probably can't see that. But when I'm in Keynote, when I'm in Keynote, I'm going to click File, then Export to, and I'm going to click PDF. This you can see. So I'm going to export to PDF. I'm going to make my image quality best because I don't care how big it is. I'm not sending it to anybody. I just want it to look good, right? So I'm going to click PDF best. I don't want to include the stages of the builds. I don't want to include presenter notes. I just want my beautiful slides. Then I'm going to click Next. I'm going to name it. I'm going to click Export. Okay, I'm going to replace it. It doesn't matter because I've already done this before. And then it's going to create a PDF file for me. This works fantastically. Now I'm going to go get out of Keynote. I'm going to open that PDF. And now I'm going to screen share that PDF with you. Okay. Now what you're seeing is a PDF. And if you've been on an event with me before where I've had slides, this is exactly what you've seen. You are not seeing Keynote, you are seeing a PDF, okay? I'm going to resize the window just a little bit so that it's nice and perfect, so that every time, on a Mac at least, I hit Option and down, I switch slides. Look at this. How cool. So this is what I do when I am behind the scenes at any of our webinar events, any of our workshops. I am just clicking on my keyboard really lightly and toggling through my own slides that way. And all that option down is just page down. So page down, whatever that is on your computer, on your keyboard, that's going to work with your PDF document and your PDF viewer. This is how I highly recommend doing slides. There are a couple of other ways you can do it. You can do it with HTML. This is what I have found works every single time, hassle-free. So this is what I recommend. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about that. For non-Mac users, it's going to be exactly the same, just different programs. So you're going to build in PowerPoint or you're going to build in Google Slides. You're going to export it to PDF and you're going to open it in whatever you have. And then you're just going to look whatever your keystroke is for page down. You might have a page down button on your not tiny, right? Like our keyboards are so small. You probably have a page down button on your keyboard. If you don't, just Google what's the page down button on my keyboard or for my computer or what's the keystroke for that. And that's going to allow you to toggle through the slides. So great. So easy. Now you don't have to worry about Inception or everyone seeing your weird slide build note or PowerPoint. This is how you do it. Okay, cool. Yay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to close out of this for now. Let's see what's next. I see I'm way over time. I'm not over time. We've got about 10 minutes left in the hour that I had mentally allotted for this. I'm just going to keep going. If you need to leave, remember that Crowdcast has made it super easy. If you want to see the rest of this presentation, just come on back to this same URL whenever you can, and the recording will be back waiting for you. But I have a lot more territory to cover, so I'm going to keep going because I love sharing this kind of stuff. So let's going. All right. I also received a question of what plan do you really need? How much does Crowdcast cost? So I'm going to pull, just because this is not something I keep in my head, I'm going to go back to my other screen share now. And I'm going to share that with you. So this is Crowdcast's pricing. It is not the cheapest platform you will use. However, it is probably the best platform you will use. So I think these prices are super reasonable. This light plan is going to totally work for a lot of you. And it is absolutely worth $50 a month. You get up to 100 live attendees. And this is always a question for people. How many people, how many attendees, how many participants can I have on? So with this light plan, you can have 100 live attendees, but you can have unlimited people viewing your recording. So if you're the kind of marketer who, maybe you get 20 people for your live events, maybe you get 300 to register, but 50 of them show up. That's fine. You're within your live attendee. But maybe you want to keep directing traffic to that event. Those people don't cost you a red cent. So cool, right? Okay, so you're only paying for live folks. And if you do get extra live people, you just pay 50 cents a piece for them. And if you're selling a program, you're selling a service, that's going to pay for itself. So no worries there. Then you get a lot of really great features. Some of the really fancy things like multi-streams or that brand new RMTP studio, you're not going to get that on that light plan. Most of you aren't going to use it anyhow. So that light plan, if you're thinking about giving this a try, is a great place to start. The professional plan obviously is going to be phenomenal for those of you who really want to go all in on live video events like this or interactive teaching and training. Going to be fabulous. If you're also really wanting to use it for marketing, if you like some of the fancier features, that's going to be really great for that. We're on the business plan. And honestly, I was looking at this just now, and I hate to say it if you're still here, but I think we might not need to, but I think we could downgrade. I never have 500 live attendees. Sometimes I guess we get close, but month over month, it would probably make sense for us to pay for those extra attendees. So I'm going to look back over our event history and see if maybe we can downgrade. But otherwise, your features here are pretty much exactly the same. It's just how many people can show up live, how much extra attendees cost, if and when they actually make live the ticketed event fee, there would be a difference there as well. I see I'm losing my light too. Of course, it's raining here. Anyhow, that professional plan is going to be great for most of you too. All right. Okay. Back to me. This will be fun. Just a second. Get a little more light in here. That's better. Okay. This is live, people. Right. Thank you, Lou. Let's check my outline now. All right, we're through the first piece of my outline. All right, let's talk about using Crowdcast for marketing. Someone asked specifically, how do you use Crowdcast for list building, and does it integrate with your list? I checked, the only direct integration Crowdcast had is with Drip. So Drip users, awesome. But it doesn't matter because they integrate with Zapier, and Zapier integrates you with literally almost everything else. Your Mighty Network, ConvertKit, MailChimp, Aweber, whatever, you can integrate it into your Crowdcast event. So that means that all you have to do is either set up a standing Zap for your email marketing, or do what I do, which is because I want a little more segmentation, I set up a Zap specifically for marketing events. Okay. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. This is inside our Zapier account. Co-commercial members, if you missed it, I did a kind of a walkthrough of Zapier during the Inspector Gadgets virtual conference. So you can go back and check the recording of that for a real actual walkthrough of this Zap. But what I do is simply use Crowdcast as the trigger. So anytime someone registers for an event, it triggers this Zap. Then I have a filter here that continues only if the event title matches the filter. And then I have I have Zapier add that subscriber to ConvertKit with a specific tag. So not only are they being added to my email list, but I am tagging them as interested in a particular topic or registering for a particular event. And then that makes my my sales campaigns way more targeted. I don't have to sell to my whole list. I can be selling just to the people who are interested in whatever I'm selling. So that's how I integrate. The other thing that I do that you can do is do the exact same thing, but make it triggered when they attend live. Okay. So the first Zap that I showed you gets triggered when someone registers. This one triggers when someone shows up to the live event. We all know if you show up live, you're more likely to buy, right? I hope we all know that. People who show up live to your webinars or workshops that are marketing are more likely to buy than people who watch the recording by like a lot. So I want to keep track of who attends live. So I set up the exact same kind of Zap, only I have it triggered by whether they attend live. And then the tag that I have applied is actually an attended tag. So in my ConvertKit, it'll say attended Inspect Your Gadgets, attended planning workshop. And then again, I can mark it more specifically to those people. Oh, I should have made that bigger. You get the idea. Like I said, co-commercial members, that Zapier walkthrough is part of the Inspect Your Gadgets event. List segmentation examples, I got that. Inserting your Facebook pixel, I got that. Broadcasting Facebook, I got that. Oh, I've covered territory that I thought I did. This is good. Okay, now I'm going to get into advanced Crowdcast, I think. Yes, I'm going to get into advanced Crowdcast. These were just a couple of things that didn't fit into the rest of my outline, so I put them at the end. A bunch of people asked about using Crowdcast with Mighty Networks. So how do we use it at Co-Commercial, and how could they use it at Co-Commercial? So because we're such, because we're a big Mighty Networks user, and because we're big fans of Crowdcast, Mighty Networks is acutely aware of the need to play nice with Crowdcast. So there's not a full integration in that, you know, I can't I guess I can broadcast live into my Mighty Network. I don't care about that though, because I love all of the features, all of the interactive features of broadcasting here on Crowdcast, right? The chat room, the ask a question buttons, all of that. So we keep everything here on Crowdcast, but they do make it really easy to, you know, link up to Crowdcast events and things like that. So for me, the integration is much more strategic than it is logistical or tactical. So we think of Crowdcast as sort of our virtual classroom, our virtual conference room, our virtual co-working space. Crowdcast is where we get together as a community live. Every so often we do that within Mighty Networks too, like with a live chat, but the vast majority of our live stuff happens here at Crowdcast. And so that's why we think Mighty Networks and Crowdcast plays so nicely together, just from a strategic perspective. If you want to build community, live events are an incredible way to do that. If you want to market your community, live events where your community members are present are a phenomenal way to do that. Crowdcast is going to make that incredibly easy for you. So there isn't any kind of fancy integration there. It's more of a mindset integration, a strategic integration. So just think about it that way. Yay, they're working on an integration. Make me happy. Okay. Can you run courses on Crowdcast, which was another question. I've covered this in a couple of different ways, but I want to just remind you about that multi-session scheduling. So awesome. Everyone register one event and then have all of your sessions at that same event. It's so great. Also, it looks so pro, right? It's so great. So again, you can set up a series event so that, like, let's say we were having Mastering Crowdcast with Tara Gentili, and it's a 4-part event, and it's the next 3 Wednesdays at 2:30. I can have that set up, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, all at this URL so that when you register for part 1, you're registered for all of the events. Or if you come late and you register because you want to see session 3, you're going to get access to all of those events. Now, if you couple that up for simplicity purposes with actually having pay through CrowdCast as well, now you've got a live, interactive, e-commerce learning management system. So this isn't just live video. You can start to think of this as an e-commerce ready learning management system. That's pretty freaking cool. Other things you can do with this in terms of running online courses, because you can have a broadcast straight to YouTube, you can be recording your videos over on YouTube as well. So maybe your learning management system plays better with YouTube. Yeah, that's fine. Don't download and upload the video, just broadcast over there to something that's private. And then your videos live there and you can embed them other places as well. So that's really neat. Someone else asked, can you do a one-click registration? So if you've got people on your email list, can they just click a link and be registered? Yes, sort of. Now, I may be missing a piece of this, so Sai, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe the best way to do this, again, is through Zapier. So now, instead of having your the trigger for your new email subscriber, you're basically going to reverse it. So you're going to have the trigger be someone clicking a link or taking a particular action within your email marketing provider. And then that's going to trigger a new registration at CrowdCast, or the action is going to be a new registration at CrowdCast. It may not be 100% instantaneous. So I would be careful with it. I test it out a little bit first before you go all in on that kind of one-click registration, but you absolutely could do it through Zapier. You're just going to reverse the process. Now, I did want to say just a quick word about the benefits of having people re-register. A lot of times when you do one-click registrations, if it's not a course program or something like that, you're going to get you're going to get less interested clicks, because the easier you make it, the less friction there is, which is good. But at the same time, those people didn't have to work as hard to register. And a lot of times, I find it's really helpful to actually have people re-register. One of the nice things about CrowdCast, though, is that instead of always getting that email opt-in box, because people are kind of building profiles here on CrowdCast, whether they know it or not, if they're logged in, the registration process, it has less friction to it. So as far as I know, we don't have a lot of complaints about people having to always re-register. And that's just how we do it, so that we're always re-engaging with our subscribers. Okay. That is the end of Outline. So now I'm going to dive into the 21 questions, a lot of which I know I've already answered. But I'm going to see which ones I have not answered. And feel free, if, like I said, I'm good to go for time for about 45 more minutes. I don't know being 45 more minutes. But if you've got more questions, if I haven't answered something that you're curious about, you have a strategic question, go ahead and use that Ask a Question button under the video area, and that will alert me to your question eventually. Oh, one other thing with the Zapier that I was playing with actually before we got on in regards to the one-click registration was actually thinking through using other e-commerce tools to automatically register people for events. And I think that might actually be a better use case of an automatic registration. So for instance, you could set up a SAM cart, if you use SAM cart for your e-commerce, but there's going to be things in there as well. Whatever you use, I'm sure it's going to be in there. You can set up a Zap where a new purchase at SAM cart is the trigger, and that creates an automatic registration at CrowdCast. So if you are using CrowdCast as your online course delivery program, your interactive delivery program, you absolutely could have people purchase a program and be auto-registered on the right CrowdCast event. That would be pretty cool. We don't do that. We don't have use for that yet, but it's sweet. Okay. So Marie had asked about what it looks like behind the scenes. Is that there's often 2 co-commercial accounts. So I think she's referring to that screen share that I showed earlier. No one's changing slides as I talk. I'm the one doing it. Yeah, and thank you for saying that it looks smooth. We work really hard at that. Actually, I shouldn't say that we work really hard at that because it's not hard. I've just shown you all my tips and tricks. So now you can do that as well. Christine asked about Crowdcast with Mighty Networks. I answered that earlier. Jenna asked about list building. So yeah, like I said, this is a webinar. You can think of this as a webinar platform. You can think about this for delivering a free challenge. So maybe you do a free 5-day challenge as an event series, and you're just kind of exponentially on registrations throughout the week. You could also use this marketing purposes. So if you're doing a free challenge, you could be broadcasting into a Facebook group using Crowdcast. And pair it up with Zapier. And there's lots of different ways that you can really have a lot of fun and a lot of customization as to how registrants end up on your email list and how they're tagged or sorted. So really phenomenal for email marketing or for list building. Amaka asks, is it possible to bring multiple people on screen like you would on Zoom? Yep, up to 3 other people. So that's great. And you can do it pre-planned. You can bring people into the green room with you. So like when I'm doing a live interview, we have people show up 5 minutes early. I bring them into the green room. We test everything, make sure it all sounds good, do our little pre-show banter, and then we go live together. Or I can click on Karen or Roxana or Shannon and bring them on screen right now too. So you can do it on the fly or pre-planned. Faye asks, have you had any success selling pre-recorded classes through Crowdcast, or do you recommend using another platform? That's not something I've done or tried. I think that it could totally work. I think there are probably other options that are going to be probably better designed. I think in terms of sales, like it's good. This is good for storing recordings and having people access recordings. If it's kind of part of a larger context of things, so like co-commercial, where people will might join co-commercial today and then go watch an event that we had back last March, but that's not really selling an individual recording. I think if you're going to sell a recording of your programs after the fact, I would probably do that on another platform like Doki. It would be really great for that. Or any of the other teaching platforms. You could do it here. It would be worth testing because it would be freaking easy. Nina says, I saw there's a great feature with Drip, but I'm switching to ActiveCampaign. Do you use actions on? I don't know what that question means. But you can integrate it with ActiveCampaign through Zapier. And so any actions that ActiveCampaign has in Zapier, so whether that's tagging, starting a sequence, adding them to a specific group or segment, that can all be done through Zapier. Does Crowdcast have different price ranges? Yes, so anything from $50 a month to $195. And for most of you, that $50 a month tier is going to be really, really great. And then for some of you, that $89 tier is going to make a lot of sense. Nina says, my main problem is this is more expensive than Zoom and my needs are already satisfied. Yeah, Zoom works great for a lot of people. I'm not saying this is better than Zoom in general. We use Zoom for different things. So we use Zoom for meetings, whether that's mastermind meetings or internal team meetings. And then we use Crowdcast. That might be an easier way to think about the difference. Now I have too much light. Just a second. Oh no. There we go. All right. So there's definitely different things. I think for marketing purposes, you can't beat Crowdcast. Zoom is not the same for marketing purposes. Your even if there's a price differential there, you are paying for getting back a lot of time if you are using CrowdCast instead of Zoom for marketing. So any list building events, any big events in terms of sales, things like that, the features you have on CrowdCast are so much better than Zoom. I would argue even if you're using Zoom webinars, and if you're using Zoom webinars, the pricing is about the same. Claudia says, you have a very professional setup with mic and I'm assuming camera. Tips on what we need for tech to be successful and have great video and audio. Yes. So I would highly recommend the webcam that I have, which is expensive as you'd think it was. So I have a Logitech Pro, what is it called? Someone knows what webcam I have. Logitech Pro 1080 something, I think is what it's called. I'm sure we can find the link for it eventually, or Claudia hit me up in Coco. Yeah, I really love this webcam. And if you search like best HD webcam, that webcam is the one that pops up almost always. And it runs, I believe, retail about 120, but most of the time you can find it on sale at Amazon for anywhere between 60 and 90 bucks. So less than $100 to get a really great camera. Lighting is always an issue here. I'm always kind of fiddling with that, and I have some different lighting setups. Most of the time I'm standing between two windows that I have blinds on at different levels depending on the weather outside. On a rainy day, as it is today, I'm always getting a lot of variety in light, and so it's kind of hard. If I'm going to be on an all-day event on a rainy day, I pull the blinds all the way down and turn my studio light on, like if it was dark. On a sunny day, it can have the blinds kind of midway, and I look amazing. So lighting is just as important as your camera. Yes, Renee got it. Logitech C920 HD Pro webcam. That's what I have. Thank you. As for the mic, you do not need this microphone. I do not have this microphone because we use Crowdcast. I have this microphone for podcasting, and I just like the way it looks on video. So I leave it there. Earbuds, using earbuds for your microphone will work just fine. You will sound great. Just make sure, just make sure it's not clanging against anything. You'll sound absolutely fine. A lot of people have a Blue Yeti mic, Blue Snowball mic. Those are great. A little bit on the less expensive side. So like, I think the Yeti is like $70 and the Snowball is like $30. Guys, here's the trick with those microphones. They don't work if they're not near your face. So notice how this microphone is in my face. That's why it sounds good and why you don't hear so much of the outside noise. You probably don't hear any of the outside noise. It's actually really noisy outside my window right now. If you're going to use a Yeti or a Snowball, get it as close to you as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be in screen. You can still work it so that it's off the screen, but you want it to be as close to you as possible. The other thing is you want to be in a room with lots of fabric, upholstery. So my couch behind me helps dampen sound. My curtains help dampen sound. The carpeting that I have helps dampen sound. And again, that's a huge piece of whether your sound sounds good or not. So get your mic close to your face. That's why the earbuds work so well. Or get a nicer mic that's not too expensive. And then just make sure there's lots of padding in your room. So that might mean adding furniture to your office, not a microphone, but can make a huge difference in your quality of sound and get it real close. The mic that I have here is the Rode Procaster, a Rode Podcaster, which is what Shannon has. If you've seen Shannon on video, she's using the Podcaster, which looks almost identical to this. It's white instead of gray. This one is, as you can see, on a mic arm, on a swivel arm, and it's going into a preamp that I have that then goes straight into my computer. So the mic still is attached to USB through my computer. It just has an interim step. The podcaster, just like a Yeti or a Snowball, is going straight into your computer through a USB. Super easy to use. You're just able to get like incrementally better sound out of this. We're not talking about night and day here. Okay. Also, this setup is probably not as expensive as you might think it was. I believe everything that I've got, so the hooking me up thing, the microphone, the arm, the cables, and the preamp, I want to say was about $350. So not super expensive, maybe not the next investment you want to make. Maybe you want to spend that $350 on something else. I'm totally with you on that. But it's not as I think it is. Jeff asks, are there any features or functionality that you wish Crowdcast had but doesn't? Jeff, you're putting me on the spot. No. Trying to think. Like I said, there's some marketing things that I would have had like in a Webinar Jam or Webinar Ninja that we don't have, but I wasn't really using them in the first place. Things like, I would like the ability to edit on an event level the registration and reminder emails. That's a really random thing. You can edit your registration and event reminder emails on a profile level. So I have edited the defaults that go out, and then there's tags for event title and time and things like that in those options. But I can't do that on an event level. I can only toggle them on and off. Now, I largely do that by sending reminders from our ConvertKit account. And I think by and large, we see a higher deliverability rate on emails coming from our ConvertKit account than emails coming directly from Crowdcast. That's not Crowdcast's fault. That's just the nature of, people are opening emails from us on a regular basis. So they're opening emails more than they're opening or seeing or being delivered to in an inbox that they actually check those emails. So that would be the main thing, but it's so not a deal breaker. I think that's it. Jeff, I'll get back to you if I think of anything else. Nina says, can you streamline a recorded video via this, like pre-recorded webinar that goes live at a certain time? You can now. So I think literally today launched a brand new feature called RMTP Studio, which is going to allow you to use something like OBS or why can't I think of the name of one of the other main ones, but all of those like live streaming fancy video systems that are out there that people use to do fancy things with Facebook Live. That now you can now connect that to Crowdcast. So now you can do pre-recorded video on Crowdcast. It literally just came out. I have not had a chance to play with it at all, so I know nothing about it. But Sai made a great 15-minute video, 20-minute video that's going to show you how that all works and what you can do with it. So if that's interesting to you, I would check that out. Sandra asked, would it be good for weaving and knitting classes? Yeah, I think so. I think that you could possibly, especially with this new RMTP Studio piece, you could probably set up 2 cameras, so a dual camera option. Wouldn't that be cool? So you could have a camera coming straight I have, and then you could set up a separate DSLR to focus on what your hands are doing. So if you want to show stitches while you're talking or show weaving as you're talking, you could have an over-the-shoulder cam that came down and was broadcasting that simultaneously. That would be super slick. I don't think that would be that hard to put together. It's not my area of expertise, but as I understand it, as of today, you could absolutely do that. Gigi says, broadband right now on my end is jittery, so I worry about it for people who live in rural areas. Yes, that's definitely an issue. That's a live video issue. Last issue. So live video, whether you're watching Creative Live, whether you're watching Crowdcast, whether you're watching Facebook Live, is always going to be a problem for people who have lower bandwidth. If you have a large customer base in lower bandwidth areas, as Gigi, I know that might be an issue for you. Live video is probably not a great solution for you. That might be something where you really want to look at pre-recorded video instead. In terms of, for people who have more of a regular mix of some folks are always going to have low bandwidth. Some folks are going to have like way higher bandwidth than I have. I think that the trade-offs of using live video versus, that frustration with things that are jittery it's worth it. Live video is worth it. And for those folks who do have low bandwidth, they can watch the recording later. And I've lost track of this feature, but there had been a way for viewers to toggle into a lower bandwidth setting. So I don't see it off the top of my head now, or as I'm looking at the screen, but you might want to look around your screen and actually see if you have an option to toggle down the amount of bandwidth that's coming at you right now, because that can make your viewing experience a lot better. Roxana asked, what's considered low bandwidth? I think for live streaming, you want to be at 12 megs per second and higher. That might have changed. I pay for 100. I hope most days to be clocking in around 65, 70. And so most of the time, I don't have any issues with live broadcasting. I think in most fairly populated areas, you're going to have decent bandwidth. But I think that's one of those expenses of running an online business that's worth it's worth upping your game on, right? So like our cable provider, which is who we have internet through, just launched a new gig service. It's maybe like $40 a month more than what we're paying now, but we totally plan on upgrading because we do so much live video that it's worth it. That $40 a month could easily pay for itself in new customers and just better experience for the customers we have. Lynn says the video quality doesn't look great. Can you adjust the settings for video clarity? So one, that's a lighting issue on my part right now. That's why I've been fiddling with the lighting, because important to me to look better. I'm still getting a little bit of grain right now. The clouds have gone, or the sun's gone back behind the clouds again and all that good stuff. So lighting is going to be your best friend there. It's not that the camera is bad. It's not that the broadcast is bad. It's that the lighting is lower than I'd like it to be right now. That said, also sometimes on the user side is where you get the negative video or the bad video clarity. And so in the recording, it'll look perfect. But on your end, it might have been a bit weird. Also, the screen sharing is always going to be jumpy. Still can't come up with the right word. That's really bothering me. Anyhow, the screen sharing is always going to be a bit jittery. So again, that's why you don't want animations or transitions in your slides. You don't want to show video from screen sharing. Like, that's not good either. So the quality of the broadcast video of you is super good. Whether you're getting all of that goodness or not, that's a question of bandwidth. It's a question of lighting. It's a question of your camera. And so I'm able to toggle my camera settings as my camera. So because I have this nicer webcam, it comes with this little app, and I can toggle for brightness, I can toggle for contrast, I can toggle for exposure, all of those things, and I can set that up beforehand, and then that broadcasts out. But like I said, the biggest thing of whether it looks good or not is going to be lighting. I do have one other lighting trick, which is that I have a big soft box behind my desk. It is not on because it was not cloudy when I started this broadcast, or else it would have been. But I have the big softbox behind my desk, and I actually have it pointed not at me, but at the ceiling. So I have this gray paint on my office walls, but my ceiling is still white. And so when I bounce that softbox light off the ceiling, it's gonna hit me really softly. And so I love when our co-commercial members are like, "You're glowing," and I'm like, "I know." That's my softbox light bouncing. And so it can be pitch black outside, just that light bouncing off the ceiling, nothing else in my office wall other than my monitor, and it looks amazing. It's say that light was $60 on Amazon. There's actually better options now that you can buy for even cheaper, and really, really phenomenal. So if you're going to be doing live video, I highly recommend really putting some thought into your lighting setup, because that's going to help you immensely. Yeah. Does CrowdCast supply a transcript of the recording? No. No, it does not. That said, you can certainly use a service like rev.com to get a transcription done. Rev.com is $1 a minute. People don't realize how cheap transcriptions are, and they can really seriously expand your reach. So if you do have folks that you've got hearing impaired folks, you've got people who just prefer to read, getting transcriptions done of marketing events is a great idea. Lou asks, when you have an unlisted event, say it's a paid event, and someone who's got access to the URL shares it with others, would they be allowed in? Yes, that's handled at a URL level. As I shared earlier, you can't password protect an event, but again, that's not going to prevent sharing. I think, as digital content providers, we have to assume there is going to be a certain level of sharing of what we create. That's one of the trade-offs of creating digital content. My philosophy on that has always been that I would rather put my focus on creating great content. Sure, setting up the right kinds of firewalls, setting up the right kind of protection for my content, but not going further than is necessary, not penalizing my paying customers because I'm too precious about the content that I create. So yeah, if someone shares the recording with their business partner, or they share it with their buddy who's, thinking about starting a business, but has no idea, what all is out there, that there's so much help for people out there. That's not a bad thing for me. That's a good thing for me. Could you get an unlisted event shared on, could someone, I don't know, could it be pirated in some way? Probably. You can always take an event down though. So you could download the recording and remove the event if that ever happened. Megan asked, do you stream your Crowdcast inside of Facebook Live too? And why do you do this if you can't get their email addresses on Facebook? Yes, we are streaming live to Facebook as of right now, or we were before. We've been for the last hour and a half. Why do I do this? We actually have a really good history of converting people into the Crowdcast event from Facebook Live, because they can see that you're asking questions. They can see that you guys are chatting away. They can't see the chat. But if I'm interacting with you guys in the chat, people on Facebook know it's not happening on Facebook. And so they're going to click over to this event and come join the conversation. So it's actually worked extremely well. I've tried doing it with incentives that didn't seem to create any larger conversion of one way or another. So like an incentive, like there's only a worksheet available here at Crowdcast. I just say, come on over, join the conversation, be part of this event. And they come on over and I get the email addresses and it's fantastic. But yeah, so I do it there then for just distribution and greater awareness of what we're up to. Mary asks, can it accept payments and they integrate with PayPal? No, they do. Yes, they accept payments. No, they don't integrate with PayPal. Guys, start moving away from PayPal. Just start moving away. PayPal's gotten better. There's definitely less problems than there used to be. But the future is Stripe, and the future is Stripe. The vast majority of the platforms that are coming out today are integrated with PayPal as like, oh, I guess we have to, but they're not excited about it. just start moving away from PayPal, start moving to, we are now basically 95%, I think, of our revenue comes through Stripe. Yeah, we've been moving in that direction really slowly. Last year was sort of like the cutoff. We don't offer PayPal payments with anything anymore. And I can't say that it's affected our revenue at all. Obviously, in some, it can be difficult to tell, but certainly, every so often we have people reach out, well, can I pay through PayPal? Depends on what it is. Sometimes, if it's something that makes sense to invoice them, sure, we'll invoice them and bring them in kind of manually. But most of the time, Stripe, people go get their credit cards, or their credit cards are stored in the browser. It's a lot less friction than it used to be. And you want to be on Stripe. Stripe. It costs the same. It's probably more secure. You're going to get your money faster. It's better. Stripe. How long does it take a non-techie person to learn this? Shannon, do you want to weigh in on that one? You're not really a non-techie person. I don't think it's difficult. I think it's pretty easy, especially since now I've given you all my tips and tricks. I haven't really held back at all. So there's no code that's happening here. There's no weird integrations. There's no weird API things. Yeah, Shannon says I'm tech but not uber techie. It was super easy. I would probably say I'm on the uber techie side, and I just don't feel like it's taxing my tech skills. So I think, play around with it, test it out. Yeah, she says, Kristen and I set up test events to figure it all out. Just test it with a couple of friends, give it a few tries, see how it goes, and then go from there. I've oftentimes with live video, I tell people to kind of work up to bigger events. So don't go and sign up if it makes you nervous. Don't go and sign up for CrowdCast today and then go try and host 1,000-person event tomorrow. Like, that's not a good idea. Sign up for CrowdCast, test it with a buddy, test it yourself, then test it with a buddy, then test it with maybe a small group of people, like your best customers. Hey, come on, we're going to talk about this thing, or I'm going to share this trick with you, and then work up to bigger events. Deborah asks, what is the proper protocol for with putting people on a newsletter list without them actually signing up for it? So when they register for CrowdCast, they are signing up for it. That's just that. Yeah, so you can be, let's see, can you add, I'm trying to think if you can add more explicit text, but it is in the terms and conditions that when you are signing up for it, you are signing up to receive updates or communication from that brand. So yeah, so there's no, regulation wise, legality wise, there's no issues there. It is part of the process. If you want to put that in your registration email, if you'd like to get I understand being very sensitive of people's desire when it comes to getting communication from you. So you could always put a registration in your registration email. You can have, if you'd also like to get information or inspiration or ideas from me, click here and add yourself to my newsletter list. You could certainly do that. You're just not obligated to. And I think most people I'm not even going to say most, I'm going to say 99.9% people who sign up for an event like this are going to expect and want to get more email from you. They want to hear from you. They're registering because they have a need of what you're offering in one way or another. And you not sending them email may very well disappoint them greatly. That's happened to me so many times. I've signed up for news lists and never gotten anything from people, or signed up for events and never gotten anything from them. I'm like, no, I want to hear from you. Have you figured out how to integrate your CrowdCast homepage with your website? So you could if you're wanting to go from your website to your Crowdcast homepage, or your Crowdcast profile page, which I have done, I just put that as a custom link in my navigation. So, when we were running our live show for Co-Commercial, I had our live show in our nav menu, and it just went straight to Crowdcast so that people could check out whatever the upcoming episode was. As far as linking out from your Crowdcast profile to your homepage, you can't do that. Melissa says, can you download the audio from your interviews? She says, you must be able to since you've used them for your podcast. No, actually, we did that differently. So we simultaneously recorded our live interview on Crowdcast and on Zencaster, which is what we use for recording podcast interviews. However, you can download the video and then strip the audio out of the video. You could do that in GarageBand or any audio editing software. You can also do it with if you use Ecamm Call Recorder, if you're on a Mac and you use, that comes with a little utility that will strip audio out of a movie file. So you can do it with that too. Okay, I just answered that. Oh, I answered that too. All right. Oh, there's another one. Lou says, this might not be a Crowdcast, but Facebook question. But when I checked your Facebook Live, this live stream is showing on the header. Was that automatic? Yeah, I didn't know it could do that. That's exciting. Someone should go check that out right now and make me a screenshot so I can see that, because when I end the recording, I'm not going to be able to see it anymore, I assume. So I'd really like to see what that looks like. Lou, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Can you screenshot for that for me? All right. Well, I think I have probably taken up your time with mastering Crowdcast. Just to kind of circle back to the how long does it take to learn this question, getting started with this platform is a piece of cake. Sure, I know lots of tips and tricks of making, getting the most out of this, learning all sorts of different things, but I've been on this platform for a year and a half. I loved it from the moment I used it the first time. I have been obsessed with it ever since. I literally do everything that I possibly can to use this platform for the live events that we do, for anything video related. I love it. Absolutely love this platform. And I think that it is well worth learning. I wouldn't even call them, I don't think this platform really has idiosyncrasies. I think it just, there's a lot of layers to this onion, to this cake that you can explore in terms of growing your business, creating great customer experiences, and I highly recommend you checking it out. So that's that. If you are not already a Co-Commercial member, but you really love content like this, where we take you behind the scenes, where our members take you behind the scenes of their own businesses, I want to invite you to join Co-Commercial today. And I don't know why this isn't showing up. Oh, because I didn't push the show button. But if you'd like to join Co-Commercial, it is generally invitation only. You have to wait a few days because we like to just, make sure we're taking care of everybody as we bring them through the door. You can click that green button to find out more about what Co-Commercial is, what we do there, how we're really disrupting the small business education space by making access to a whole community's worth of experience and brains and expertise and knowledge available to you at a very, very, very low investment. You can click on that green button. We've got a whole bunch of Co-Commercial members here with us today, and they can tell you more about it. But just in brief, Co-Commercial is the fluff-free social and support network for small business owners today. Think of us sort of like Facebook, but if Facebook was only full of super helpful people who want to see you succeed and have the experience, expertise, and knowledge to help you do it too. That's what Co-Commercial is all about. It's all about live events like this one. And we'd love to have you on board and make you a part of our awesome community as well. So again, you can click that green button right below the video screen there and find out more about us. But that's it. I'm going to leave you now. Thank you so much for your great questions. Thank you so much for all your participation and chatting along with me today. And that's it. Thanks. Bye, everybody.